I am the mistress of the central palace, the empress who serves as a model of virtue for the realm. 7 months into my pregnancy, I suffered from severe morning sickness. Just as I finished vomiting up a bowl of bird's nest porridge, Zhaoyue rushed in frantically. Your Majesty, someone has arrived from the Shen residence. They say the Duke has sent the second miss into the palace. I wiped the corners of my mouth and smiled. The second young lady, Shen Zhaoyue, my legitimate younger sister. The pearl held in the palm of the entire family's hand, proficient in the 4 arts, and the most renowned talented woman in the capital. My father's move was truly ingenious. Taking advantage of my pregnancy and inability to attend to the emperor, he tucked his legitimate daughter in, hoping to hedge his bets and ensure a win either way. It was a pity he didn't know, the man on the dragon throne, Xiao Yan, was born of a concubine. His biological mother was a palace maid who worked in the laundry. He only came to be because the late emperor had graced her while intoxicated. The late emperor had 3 legitimate sons and 5 sons born of concubines. Of those 3 legitimate sons, 2 were dead, and 1 had gone mad. Xiao Yan stepped over the corpses of all his brothers to take that throne, but what did he hate most in his heart? It was the concept of legitimate birth. It was those who were born with silver spoons in their mouths and looked down upon the children of concubines. I was able to take the seat of Empress not because the Shen family possessed overwhelming power, but because I, too, was born of a concubine. My mother was an embroiderer in the Shen household. She died right after giving birth to me. The legal wife of the Shen family registered me under her own name, passing me off as a legitimate daughter to marry into the Eastern Palace, though in reality, the entire capital knew of my true origins. On the day Xiao Yan married me, he lifted my bridal veil and said one thing. You and I are both born of concubines. In this palace, we are our own people. Based on those words alone, I sat securely on the throne of the Empress for 3 years. And now my father wants to send the true legitimate daughter into the palace? What a bunch of fools. Zhaoyue, go and find out under what pretext the second miss is entering the palace. In response to your ladyship, it is said. She is entering the palace to attend to the illness and care for the Empress Dowager. I burst out laughing. The Empress Dowager was also born to a concubine. Back then, she was oppressed by the legitimate empress in the inner palace for 20 years, nearly dying in the coal palace. And now, they want a legitimate daughter of a noble family to serve her? My father must think the Shen family isn't being wiped out fast enough. The next day, Shen Zhaoyue came to Fengyi Palace to pay her respects. She wore a set of pale yellow palace robes, with a white magnolia hairpin tucked into her hair, looking elegant and refined. Upon entering, she first performed a formal bow. Zhaoyue pays her respects to the Empress. Her etiquette was beyond reproach, and her posture was humble. But her eyes were wrong. The way she looked at me carried a hint of pity. Pity for my status as a concubine's daughter, pity for my heavy belly and restricted movement, and pity that despite sitting in the central palace, I was nothing more than a substitute. I am all too familiar with that look. In the 16 years I spent at the Shen residence, I saw it every single day. Sit. I gestured toward the chair below me. She did not sit down, but instead took a brocade box from her sleeve. Sister, father asked me to bring this into the palace. He said these are top-quality medicinal herbs for stabilizing a pregnancy, meant to nourish your body. Father is certainly thoughtful. I took the brocade box and handed it to Zhaoyue. However, Zhaoyue, the palace has its own rules. You call me sister, but outsiders will laugh if they hear it. She was taken aback. Address me as your ladyship. A flicker of unease crossed her face, but she quickly regained her composure and performed another formal curtsy. Yes, your ladyship. I picked up the teacup and took a slow sip. You are coming to the palace to serve the Empress Dowager. She prefers tranquility and dislikes talkative people, so when you go there, speak less and do more. The rules at the Empress Dowager's Palace of Longevity and Health are strict. If you find them unbearable, you can tell me. She nodded. Thank you for your guidance, your ladyship. Go on then. She walked to the door, paused for a moment, and looked back at me. Take care of your health, your ladyship. Her tone was sincere. I knew she wasn't a bad person. She truly believed she was here to help me and the Shen family. But in this palace, the good people are the first to die. On Shen Zhaoyue's third day at Shokong Palace, the head maid serving the Empress Dowager arrived at Feni Palace. Your Majesty, the Empress Dowager says that the girl from the Shen family is far too restless. What happened? The second Miss Shen brewed a cup of tea for the Empress Dowager, but the Empress Dowager did not drink it. When the second Miss Shen asked her why, the Empress Dowager splashed the tea away. I set down the account book in my hand. What did the Empress Dowager say? The nanny hesitated for a moment. The Empress Dowager said, she is not worthy of drinking anything that has been touched by a daughter of a first wife. As expected. The greatest complex of the Empress Dowager's life has always been her origin. Back then, she was humiliated in the inner palace by the late Empress, who was of legitimate birth. She endured everything, being forced to kneel, being slapped in the face, and having her monthly allowance docked. Now that she is the Empress Dowager, seeing the legitimate daughters of prestigious families is like seeing the people who bullied her in her youth. Nanny, go back and tell the Empress Dowager that the girl is from my maiden family and doesn't know the rules. I will discipline her myself later. After the nanny left, Zhaoyue whispered, Your Highness, should we transfer the second young lady away? No rush. I turned a page of the ledger. It's just as well to let her hit a wall. It saves her from thinking this palace is the Shen family's back garden. In the evening, Xiao Yan came to Feni Palace. He had been busy with government affairs lately, visiting only once every half-month. Upon entering, he first glanced at my stomach. What did the imperial physician say? Everything is normal. He sat down, and Fuan served the tea. Xiao Yan took a sip, set down the cup, and suddenly asked, Your father sent your younger sister into the palace? My heart stirred, but I kept my expression neutral. Yes. They say they are here to serve the Empress Dowager. Serve the Empress Dowager? Xiao Yan let out a short laugh. That laugh was unmistakable, it was pure mockery. Duke Shen certainly knows how to play his cards. Having one concubine-born daughter as Empress wasn't enough. Now he's throwing in a legitimate daughter as well. A win-win situation, indeed. Your Majesty overthinks it. Zhaoyue, Zhaoyue? You actually speak for her. Xiao Yan looked at me, his gaze turning a few degrees colder. She is of legitimate birth. Born to the Duke of Shen's primary wife, raised at her side since childhood, literate and educated, skilled in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, the #1 talented woman in the capital. He paused for a moment. Do you think I would like someone like that? I said nothing. Xiao Yan stood up, walked over to me, and placed a hand on my shoulder. You are my Empress because you are just like me. You know exactly what it feels like to be trampled underfoot by those of legitimate birth. His voice was very soft. As for that younger sister of yours, I will not touch her. How long she stays in the palace depends entirely on you. He left. I sat where I was and stroked my belly. Xiao Yan said he would not touch Shen Zhaoyue. I believe it. But my father won't. He will have a next move. The news of Shen Zhaoyue hitting a wall at Shokong Palace quickly spread throughout the back palace. Consort Xian was the first to arrive to enjoy the spectacle. Your Majesty, I heard your sister was splashed with tea by the Empress Dowager? How pitiful. Would you like me to look after her for you? Consort Xian came from a family of military generals and was also born to a concubine. Her relationship with Xiao Yan was not particularly close, but she was notably well-behaved. You are very thoughtful, Consort Xian. However, Zhaoyue is here to serve the Empress Dowager. She has her own duties to attend to. Consort Xian chuckled, covering her mouth. Yes, of course. Serving the Empress Dowager, what a wonderful assignment. After she left, Consort.De arrived. Consort.De came from a merchant background. She had bought her way into the palace. Your ladyship, I have recently acquired a bolt of shoe brocade and was thinking of making a spring robe for you. What do you think? Leave it there. Consort.De set the items down, looking as if she wanted to say something but hesitated. Speak. Your ladyship, there are rumors circulating outside that Duke Shen intends to have the second young lady take your place. I don't believe it, but the rumors are spreading quite aggressively. I picked up the piece of shoe brocade and examined it. The material was indeed of excellent quality. People will say what they want. Their mouths belong to them. After Consort.De left, Zhaoyue closed the door. Your ladyship, these rumors have spread far too quickly. It has only been 3 days in the inner palace, yet everyone outside already knows. It didn't come from the outside. It was spread from within. Who? My father. Zhaoyue froze. He deliberately let everyone know that Shen Zhaoyue had entered the palace. This way, the entire capital is watching to see whether His Majesty will touch her. If he does, the Shen family gains another bargaining chip. If he doesn't, it proves that His Majesty only favors the concubine-born Empress, while the legitimate daughter is neglected. How would the upright officials in the imperial court gossip then? Zhaoyue's expression changed. Is the Duke trying to force His Majesty's hand? It's not forcing. It's calculating. I stood up and walked over to the window. Shen Yuandao has been a duke for 30 years. His methods are incredibly shrewd. He doesn't expect Shen Zhaoyue to actually ascend to power. What he wants is to put His Majesty in a dilemma. Then what should your ladyship do? Wait. What are we waiting for? Waiting for my father to make a fool of himself. Another 5 days passed. Shen Zhaoyue came to Fini Palace and knelt before me. There were bruises on her knees and a red welt across her cheek. Your ladyship, did I do something wrong? The Empress Dowager, she. Did she hit you? Shen Zhaoyue bit her lip and remained silent. Her eyes were rimmed with red. I didn't let her get up. Why did the Empress Dowager strike you? I played a piece for the Empress Dowager, but she said it was grating to the ears. I told her it was the most fashionable tune in the capital, and then the Empress Dowager. The Empress Dowager is not in the wrong. Shen Zhaoyue looked up at me, her eyes filled with confusion. When the Empress Dowager was young, every time the late Empress punished her, she was forced to kneel outside the hall and listen to the legitimate princess play the zither. She would kneel there all night long. By playing the zither in front of her, you were essentially rubbing salt into her wounds. Shen Zhaoyue's face turned pale. I don't know. Of course you don't. You lived a life of luxury in the Shen family, mastering the zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting, believing these were your strengths. In the palace, these are all death warrants. Death warrants? When you play the zither, the Empress Dowager remembers the late Empress. When you practice calligraphy, she remembers the noble women of legitimate birth who used their brushes and ink to humiliate her. The more excellent you are, the more she hates you. Shen Zhaoyue knelt on the ground, her entire body trembling. Then what? What should I do? You have 2 paths. First, return to the Shen family. Tell father that you are ill-suited to the local climate and request an imperial decree to leave the palace. And the second? Second, forget your status as the legitimate daughter, forget your mastery of music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, and forget that you are the most talented woman in the capital. Before the Empress Dowager, you must be the most ordinary, clumsy, and unremarkable maid. Shen Zhaoyue remained silent for a long time. Your ladyship, my father told me to perform well and not to bring shame upon the Shen family. I let out a cold sneer. Your father threw you into a pit of fire, and you're still worried about making him look good? She froze. Go back and think it through before you come to see me again. Get up. The floor is cold. She stood up, her legs trembling. Walking to the doorway, she turned back and said one last thing. Your ladyship, father said. There is someone in the palace who will look after me. Who? Father didn't give a name, he only said it was someone close to His Majesty. My heart sank. Does Xiao Yan have someone from the Shen family by his side? That night, I instructed Zhaoyue to investigate. To look into the backgrounds of everyone around Xiao Yan. Eunuchs, imperial guards, and officials of the imperial presence, not a single one was missed. 3 days later, Zhaoyue returned. I found them. Who? Imperial Guard, Zhao Chong. Zhao Chong. I recall that name. In his early 20s, upright appearance, skilled in martial arts. He was only transferred to the Emperor's presence 6 months ago. What is his relationship with the Shen family? His mother was a girl from a branch of the Shen family who married a minor 6th-rank official. Zhao Chang's ability to enter the imperial presence was due to Duke Shen putting in a good word for him. What else? On the 1st and 15th of every month, Zhao Chong leaves the palace to visit a tea house in the south of the city. The manager of that tea house is one of the Shen family's people. I closed my eyes. My father not only planted Shen Zhaoyue in the harem, but also placed a pawn by His Majesty's side. How long has he been playing this game? Your ladyship, should we inform His Majesty? No. Why? If we tell His Majesty now, what will he think? The Shen family already has an empress and a maid in the palace, and now they've planted someone by my side? He will even begin to suspect me. Zhaoyue gasped. Then what should we do? I'll handle it. I picked up my pen and wrote a letter, then handed it to Zhaoyue. Deliver this to the Prince Jing Manor first thing tomorrow morning. Zhaoyue took the letter without asking why. She has been with me for 12 years and knows what to ask and what not to ask. Xiao Heng, Prince Jing, is the younger brother of Xiao Yan born to the same mother. Also of concubine birth, he is in command of the Imperial Guard. Entrusting this matter to him is more secure than giving it to anyone else. Because Prince Jing hates the Shen family even more than Xiao Yan does. Prince Jing would never forget what the Shen family's legal wife had done to him and his mother all those years ago. Prince Jing's reply arrived quickly. It contained only 4 words. Rest assured, sister-in-law. I burned the letter. That afternoon, Shen Zhaoyue came again. This time, she wasn't wearing her magnificent robes, having changed into a simple, plain light green outfit with only a single silver hairpin in her hair. Your Highness, I have made up my mind. Speak. I choose the second path. I'm not going back to the Shen family. Reason. She stood up straight and took a deep, no, she paused, and her voice steadied. There's no point in going back. Father won't let me stay at home. He'll just find another opportunity to send me back in. Rather than being pushed around by others, I'd rather choose my own path. I took another look at her, reassessing her. This girl was smarter than I had thought. From this day forward, when you go to the Palace of Longevity and Health, you are not allowed to play the zither, write calligraphy, or recite poetry. Do exactly what the Empress Dowager tells you to do. If she scolds you, take it. If she hits you, endure it. I understand. And one more thing. I lowered my voice. People in the palace will approach you, claiming to be father's men and telling you to do this or that. No matter who comes, ignore them. Her expression changed. How did you know, Your Highness? Do you think father only arranged for you? He has placed several chess pieces within the palace. If you get entangled with them, it won't just be a matter of hitting a wall. It will be a matter of losing your head. Shen Zhaoyue's hands tightened around the hem of her clothes. Father. Would he really harm me? He doesn't think he's harming you. In his eyes, you are a tool for the Shen family, and a daughter born of the legal wife is the most useful tool of all. If it succeeds, the Shen family gains glory and wealth. If it fails, he only loses a daughter, and he still has his sons. Shen Zhaoyue's tears began to fall. Don't cry. Crying is useless. She wiped her tears away forcefully and straightened her back. Your ladyship, I will do as you say. Very well. Go now. She left. Zhaoyue whispered, Your ladyship is quite attentive to the second young miss. She is my younger sister. Although we don't share the same mother, she has never harmed me. During those 16 years in the Shen household, when my legal mother treated me poorly, she would secretly slip me pastries. And what about the Duke? He doesn't deserve to be called a father. 3 days later, during the morning court session, an incident occurred. The censor submitted an official impeachment against Duke Shen. It alleged that Duke Shen had been secretly passing messages at a tea house in the south of the city, conspiring with palace guards and plotting treason. Xiao Yan flew into a rage in the middle of the imperial court. He ordered Prince Jing to conduct a thorough investigation. When the news reached the inner palace, I was in the middle of lunch. Zhaoyue paced back and forth in a panic. Your ladyship, could this be Prince Jing's doing? Isn't it a bit too fast? Prince Jing has been investigating the Shen family for quite some time. He has plenty of evidence, he just lacked the right opportunity. My letter merely provided him with the necessary trigger. And Zhao Chong, he was taken into custody by the Imperial Guard this morning. Colluding with the enemy as an Imperial bodyguard, that charge alone is enough to finish him. Zhaoyue breathed a sigh of relief. What about Duke Shen? There is no rush. It was just a tea house. The offense does not warrant death. However, Xiao Yan will remember this. From now on, it won't be so easy for the Shen family to extend their reach in the imperial court. In the evening, Xiao Yan came to Fengyi Palace. His expression was grim. He sat down in the chair as soon as he entered, without saying a word. I brewed a cup of tea with my own hands and brought it to him. Your Majesty has worked hard. He took the tea and looked at me. Do you know about Zhao Chong? I've heard. Aren't you going to ask your father about it? If it's something His Majesty has already uncovered, is there any need for me to ask? Xiao Yan stared at me for a moment. You're not going to speak up for the Shen family? The Shen family did wrong. What is there for me to say on their behalf? I am your Majesty's Empress, not a lobbyist for the Shens. Xiao Yan fell silent. After a long time, he set down his teacup. You are not like them. I was never like them to begin with. Has your Majesty forgotten? Back when I was in the Shen household, I wasn't even allowed to enter the gates of the main courtyard. Xiao Yan said no more. That night, he stayed at Fengyi Palace, sitting by the bedside and watching me fall asleep before he finally left. When news of Zhao Cheng's arrest reached Shokong Palace, the Empress Dowager summoned Shen Zhaoyue. Did you know your father had planted moles within the palace? Shen Zhaoyue knelt on the floor. Empress Dowager, this servant does not know. You are also a pawn sent in by the Shen family. You say you don't know, who would believe that? This servant truly does not know. Before entering the palace, I only knew that I was coming to serve the Empress Dowager. The Empress Dowager let out a cold sneer. Wait on me? Shen Yuan Dao sent a legitimate daughter to wait on me, a concubine-born Empress Dowager? He is insulting me. Shen Zhaoyue pressed her forehead against the ground. Your Imperial Majesty, I could not choose my birth. But my heart is sincere. For the past half-month, I have swept when I was told to sweep and served tea when I was told to serve tea, without laziness or complaint. If your Majesty finds me lacking, I will accept my punishment. But I harbor no malice. The Empress Dowager remained silent. The elderly maid beside her whispered, Empress Dowager, this girl has indeed been much more well-behaved lately. She doesn't play the zither or practice calligraphy anymore. She does whatever she's told. Her hands have even developed calluses. The Empress Dowager glanced at Shen Zhaoyue. Stretch out your hands. Shen Zhaoyue extended her hands. On her fair, slender hands, several blisters had formed on the webs of her thumbs and the pads of her fingers. The Empress Dowager's expression shifted slightly. You are a young lady of noble birth, yet you perform manual labor? The Empress said that in the presence of the Empress Dowager, there is no need for music, chess, calligraphy, or painting. One only needs to be a practical and down-to-earth person. I have taken those words to heart. The Empress Dowager remained silent for a long time. You may leave. Tomorrow, take my old cloak and mend it. Make sure the stitches are fine. Yes. Shen Zhaoyue withdrew. The nanny said, Empress Dowager, you are. We shall observe for now. Those from the Shen family cannot be lightly trusted. Then, as for Her Majesty the Empress is different. She suffered for 16 years in the Shen family. Her heart is not with them. As for this second daughter, we shall see. The matter of Duke Shen being impeached settled down after only 3 days of commotion. The tea house was sealed, and Zhao Cheng was thrown into the dungeon, but Duke Shen was merely reprimanded by His Majesty without any substantive punishment. After all, the Empress was carrying the dragon seed. If the Emperor moved too harshly against the Shen family, outsiders would call him cold and ruthless. However, Duke Shen's reputation in the imperial court was utterly disgraced. His colleagues began to keep their distance, and the noble families he was once close with also grew estranged. This was already enough. There was no need to deliver a fatal blow. He just needed to feel the pain and learn his place. Half a month later, Duke Shen submitted a formal request to enter the palace and see me. I declined. The reason given was physical discomfort. He offered it again. I declined again. The third time, he sent for my legal mother to enter the palace. My legal mother, Lady Zhao, was the matriarch of the Shen family. She hailed from the prestigious Zhao clan of Qinghe and held the title of a first-rank lady. She entered the Phoenix Palace, performed the formal salutations, and then spoke plainly. Your Majesty, your father suffered a setback this time, and he is quite displeased. I looked at her. Mother, it is father who should be reprimanded by His Majesty, not me. Your father did it for the good of the Shen family. Regarding the Zhao Cheng matter, he simply wanted an additional source of information. Who could have known the Prince of Jing would strike so quickly? Mother, planting people by His Majesty's side, you call that a source of information? A flash of stiffness crossed Madame Zhao's face. Your father indeed acted without due consideration. But now that the matter has occurred, as the Empress, you cannot simply stand by and do nothing. How am I supposed to manage it? By putting in a good word for the Shen family in front of His Majesty? Mother, do you know what His Majesty loathes most? Madame Zhao did not respond. His Majesty loathes nothing more than people reaching behind his back. After the Zhaocheng incident, His Majesty has already grown suspicious of the Shen family. If I speak up for them now, he will suspect that I am an accomplice as well. When that time comes, it won't just be the Shen family facing ruin, even my position as Empress will be forfeit. Zhao's expression shifted. Is it truly that serious? Mother, you have managed the Shen household for 30 years. You ought to know what it means to serve a ruler as one would a tiger. His Majesty is not like father, he will not soften his heart just because you shed a few tears. Mrs. Zhao opened her mouth, but no words came out. I picked up my teacup. Go back and tell father to behave himself. Stop interfering in court affairs. I will look after Shen Zhaoyue in the palace. Just don't cause any more trouble for me. When Mrs. Zhao left, her footsteps were much heavier than when she had arrived. Suiwei closed the door and said softly, Your Highness, you were quite courteous to Lady Zhao. She did raise me for 16 years, after all. Although she never showed me a kind face, she didn't truly mistreat me to the point of death. And what about the Duke? He won't listen. What do you mean? Shen Yuandao has spent his whole life being too clever for his own good. Zhao Cheng's affair caused him to lose face. He won't reflect on his own actions, he'll only think someone is plotting against him in the shadows. Then his next move, he will investigate who leaked the information. And then, he will find his way to Prince Jing. Suiwei's face turned pale. Prince Jing controls the Imperial Guard. The Duke wouldn't be so foolish as to provoke Prince Jing, would he? You underestimate his stupidity. As it turned out, Duke Shen did indeed provoke Prince Jing. It wasn't a direct confrontation, but rather a calculated trip-up in the imperial court. He instructed his protégés to impeach Prince Jing, alleging that the Imperial Guard under his command suffered from lax discipline and citing an incident where soldiers had started a brawl in the bustling Western market. Such a trivial matter would normally not even be worth mentioning. But Duke Shen brought it before the court, making it a clear and blatant act of retaliation. Prince Jing, Xiao Heng, sneered on the spot. Duke Shen's protégés are certainly well informed. You learned about a scuffle between a few low-ranking soldiers even faster than the Ministry of War. Duke Shen remained unfazed. Your Highness, the Imperial Guard is the foundation of the capital's security. A lapse in discipline is no small matter. A lapse in discipline? Why don't you tell us, Duke Shen, about the discipline of your man Zhao Chong, whom you planted in the Emperor's presence? The court fell into a dead silence. Xiao Yan sat upon the dragon throne, remaining silent. Duke Shen's face flushed a deep crimson. Prince Jing, your words are mistaken. A conclusion has already been reached regarding Zhao Cheng's matter. The verdict is His Majesty's grace, not a testament to your innocence, Shen Yuandao. With a single sentence, Prince Jing had pinned Duke Shen to the wall. After the court session adjourned, Xiao Yan summoned Prince Jing for a private conversation. Suiwei had gathered all this information by inquiring at various locations throughout the palace. I did not directly interfere in court affairs, but I needed to know where every piece on the chessboard was moving. That evening, Xiao Yan came to Fengyi Palace. He sat under the lamp, his expression calm. Your father is at loggerheads with Prince Jing. I've heard. What do you think? I thought about it for a moment and told the truth. Father did something foolish. Prince Jing has an army, while he only has a few protégés. It's like throwing an egg against a rock. Xiao Yan let out a short laugh. You are certainly clear-headed. I have no choice but to be. Your Majesty, I am nearing my due date and do not have the energy to deal with the Shen family's mess. I only want to give birth to this child in peace. Xiao Yan looked at me, his gaze softening slightly. Rest assured and focus on your pregnancy. I know how to handle the matters regarding the Shen family. Thank you, Your Majesty. He glanced at my belly once more. The imperial physician said there are 2 months left? MHM. I have ordered the best physicians from the Imperial Academy of Medicine to remain on standby at He Palace. He rose to leave, but upon reaching the doorway, he turned back and added one more thing. That sister of yours has been quite well behaved over at the Empress Dowager's quarters. The Empress Dowager even offered her a few words of praise. It's good that Zhaoyue is being obedient. Xiao Yan left. I breathed a sigh of relief. Shen Zhaoyue had finally secured her footing before the Empress Dowager. A good thing. At least she won't die. As for Duke Shen, he won't die, but he's going to suffer a major setback. 3 days later, a major incident occurred in the palace. The Empress Dowager took a fall in Shokong Palace. It wasn't severe, a sprained ankle, but given her advanced age and brittle bones, the imperial physician prescribed a full month of bed rest. Shen Zhaoyue was among the attendants present when the fall occurred. As the news spread, the entire inner palace was abuzz with speculation. Did Shen Zhaoyue push her? Consort Xian was the first to rush to He Palace. Your Majesty, the Empress Dowager has fallen. Your sister was right there beside her. This is going to be impossible to explain away. I set down the soup bowl in my hand. What did the Empress Dowager say herself? Consort Xian was taken aback. The Empress Dowager said she slipped and that it had nothing to do with the second mission. But if the Empress Dowager said it has nothing to do with her, then it has nothing to do with her. Consort Xian opened her mouth to speak, then closed it again. After she left, Consort De arrived. Your Ladyship, the nanny serving the Empress Dowager mentioned privately that there were water stains on the ground before the fall, and it's unclear who spilled them. Who said this? Nanny Lu. Nanny Lu. A second-class nanny of Shokong Palace. She is not part of the Empress Dowager's inner circle, but she is well informed. Have Suiwei investigate how that water stain got there. That evening, Suiwei returned. I've found it. The water stains were brought in when flowers were being delivered from the conservatory. The eunuch who delivered them is named Xiao Detzi. He's only been in the palace for half a year. Who arranged for him to enter the conservatory? The Imperial Household Department. The person who handled it was Manager-He of the department. Who is Manager-He close to? Suiwei swallowed hard. Duke Shen. I closed my eyes. What a man, Shen Yuandao. Taking down Zhao Chong wasn't enough. Another pawn has been planted in the greenhouse. Regarding the Empress Dowager's fall, if it isn't investigated, Shen Zhaoyue will take the blame. If it is investigated, the trail will lead straight back to the Shen family. What exactly is Duke Shen trying to achieve? Does he want something to happen to Shen Zhaoyue in the palace to force me to take a stand for the Shen family before His Majesty? Or does he have another objective entirely? Something is wrong. I opened my eyes. Suiwei, who stands to benefit the most from the Empress Dowager's fall? If the second mission is convicted, the Shen family will have an excuse to break ties with the palace. At that time, the Duke could argue in court that the Empress cannot tolerate her own younger sister. Think again. Suiwei thought for a moment, and her expression changed drastically. If the Empress Dowager's condition worsens, His Majesty will be distracted. Those matters in the imperial court that have been suppressed, someone could take the opportunity to meddle with them. Duke Shen is not alone. There is someone behind him. Who? The Crown Prince's preceptor, Li Chongwen. born of the legal wife. A veteran official of 3 reigns. He has always looked down upon His Majesty. Zhaoyue shuddered. Your ladyship, this matter is grave. Go and invite the Princess of Jing to the palace. Tell her I'm looking for someone to talk to, as I'm feeling quite bored. Zhaoyue nodded and turned to leave. I stood by the window, resting my hand on my stomach. The baby gave a little kick from inside. Don't be in such a hurry, I said softly. Your mother hasn't lost yet. The princess consort of Jing, Zhaoyue, entered the palace the very next day. She was a daughter from a collateral branch of the Zhao family and did not get along with my legal mother, Lady Zhao. She had maintained a low profile ever after marrying the Prince of Jing. Once inside the Palace of Phoenix ceremonies, she closed the doors and smiled. Sister-in-law, you didn't call for me just because you were bored, did you? Take a guess. She sat down, her smile fading. Is it about the Empress Dowager's fall? What does your man think about this? He looked into it. Xiao was bribed, but the trail went cold. He couldn't trace it back to the person behind the scenes. I'll provide a lead for you. Manager-He of the Imperial Household Department. Zhaoyu's eyes lit up. Manager-He in Dukshan, not just Dukshan. Manager-He's son is studying under Li Chongwen. Zhaoyue took a sharp breath. Li Chongwen? That old fogey has a hand in this too? The Empress Dowager's fall wasn't targeted at her, nor was it targeted at me. It was targeted at His Majesty. With the Empress Dowager bedridden, His Majesty must attend to her illness, which means the court loses a watchful eye. Watch closely over the next half-month. Someone in the court is going to make a move. Zhaoyue stood up. I'll go back and inform Prince Jing. No rush. Sit a while longer. There are eyes watching outside. If you come and go too quickly, it will arouse suspicion. She sat back down, picked up a piece of pastry from the table, and took a bite. Sister-in-law, you live such a tiring life here in the inner palace. It's not tiring. I'm used to it. When Zhaoyue left, I had Zhaoyue pack a box of pastries for her to take along. They put on a perfect display of a sister-in-law and sister-in-law catching up. That night, Prince Jing secretly added extra guard posts within the Imperial Guard. During the morning court session the next day, Li Chongwen indeed made his move. Joining forces with 4 imperial censors, he impeached Prince Jing for abuse of power, claiming that Prince Jing had added guards to the imperial city without a decree from His Majesty, an act equivalent to treason. Prince Jing knelt in the imperial court and unhurriedly pulled a handwritten decree from his sleeve. The Empress Dowager is indisposed. 3 days ago, His Majesty issued a decree ordering this prince to strengthen the defenses of the imperial city. The decree is right here. Li Chongwen's face turned pale with shock. The 4 imperial censors looked at each. The 4 imperial censors glanced at one another, not daring to speak another word. Xiao Yan sat on the dragon throne, his gaze sweeping over Li Chongwen. Grand Tutor Li, do you have any questions regarding my decree? Li Chongwen knelt down. I would not dare. It was a lapse in my judgment. Negligence? You, a venerable official of 3 dynasties, dared to impeach someone in court without even verifying the emperor's own decree? The hall fell so silent that one could hear the sound of breathing. Xiao Yan did not pursue the matter further. But everyone saw it. Li Chongwen's hands were trembling. The investigation into the Empress Dowager's fall led back to Xiao, who subsequently implicated Manager-He. Manager-He was thrown into the imperial prison. However, Manager-He proved to be stubborn. He insisted it was entirely his own idea and refused to implicate anyone else. This was to be expected. His son was a protege of Li Chongwen. If he were to betray Li Chongwen, his son would be finished. But it didn't matter. If manager he wouldn't speak, someone else would speak for him. 3 days later, manager He's wife knelt at the entrance of the Court of Judicial Review and submitted a formal petition. The petition stated everything clearly. Manager He had been instructed by Duke Shen to plant people in the conservatory. The water stains on the floor had been intentionally spilled by Xiao Yan with the aim of causing an accident for the Empress Dowager and framing Shen Zhaoyue for it. Why did He's wife file the lawsuit? Because after Secretary He was sent to the imperial prison, the family of Duke Shen turned a deaf ear and remained completely indifferent. When He's wife went to the Shen residence to seek help, she was driven away by the gatekeeper. She tried to find Li Chongwen, but he refused to see her behind closed doors. With no other options left, He's wife decided to risk it all. What she didn't know was that Suiwei had arranged for someone to whisper in her ear, telling her that Duke Shen had no intention of saving Director He and planned to let him take the fall for everything. In a fit of rage, He's wife exposed the entire affair. When the formal complaint reached Xiao Yan's desk, he stared at it for a long time. Then he closed the petition and called for someone. Summon Duke Shen to the palace. Duke Shen knelt in the imperial study for 2 hours. As for exactly what was said, no one knew. But when he emerged, Duke Shen's official robes were completely drenched in sweat. That afternoon, the imperial decree was issued. Duke Shen was stripped of his rank, demoted from a first-class duke to a second-class marquis. All officials under his faction were to be re-evaluated. The Shen family's 3 shops in the capital have been seized. When the news reached Fini Palace, I was embroidering a small piece of clothing. Suiwei said cautiously, "Your Majesty, the Shen family's noble rank has been demoted." I know. Aren't you sad? I set down my needle and thread and looked at the small garment. Sad about what? He isn't my father. He is the head of the Shen family. Every single thing he has done was for the sake of the Shen family's interests, never for me. But Suiwei, when I was 6 years old, my legal mother forced me to kneel in the snow for 4 hours. I had a high fever and nearly died. Do you know what Shen Yuandao did? What? He walked right past the courtyard, glanced at me, and kept going. Suiwei fell silent. Whether the Shen family's noble rank is demoted or not has nothing to do with me. As long as he doesn't involve me and my child, that's all that matters. I continued embroidering the garment. The stitches were laid one by one, dense and firm. This garment is for my child. No matter how much the world outside is turned upside down, my child will be born safely. The news of the Shen family's demotion caused a massive uproar in the capital. Shen Yuandao went from a first-class duke to a second-class marquis, dropping 2 full ranks. The position of the Shen family's direct lineage in the imperial court is now hanging by a thread. Madame Zhao could no longer sit still and once again submitted a request to enter the palace. This time, I didn't refuse. When she arrived, her eyes were rimmed with red, but she didn't cry. No matter what else she was, Lady Zhao was still a daughter of the Zhao family of Qinghe. She knew how to maintain her composure. Your Majesty, your father has truly suffered a great loss this time. He brought it on himself. Couldn't you just say a few good words in front of His Majesty? Mother, you said the same thing the last time you came, and I gave you my answer then. Speaking up for the Shen family is equivalent to seeking one's own death. Mrs. Zhao grew anxious. So you're just going to stand by and watch the Shen family fall? If the Shen family falls, you, as the Empress. The Shen family won't fall. Their noble rank was stripped, but their property wasn't seized. As long as father behaves himself, he can earn his rank back in a few years. But if he continues to stir up trouble, forget the title, the lives of the entire Shen clan won't be spared. Zhao's face turned pale. What do you mean by that? Manager He's matter has implicated Li Chongwen. His Majesty is already investigating. If it is discovered that the Shen family has deeper ties with Li Chongwen, I didn't finish my sentence. Madame Zhao trembled all over. What does this have to do with Li Chongwen? Mother, are you pretending not to know? Manager He's son is approaching off Li Chongwen. And Zhao Chang's tea house is right across from Li Chongwen's residence. How many years has father been following Li Chongwen? Madame Zhao's face turned completely pale. Your father. He told me it was just normal social interaction. Normal social interaction? Li Chongwen is a die-hard loyalist who openly disdains His Majesty's background in court. Father associates with him, and His Majesty sees it all. How do you think His Majesty feels about that? Mrs. Zhao was speechless. Go back and tell father to make a clean break with Li Chongwen. Cut off everything, all correspondence, gifts, and favors. The sooner, the better. Mrs. Zhao stood up, her legs trembling. I'll tell him as soon as I get back. As she left, she paused for a moment at the doorway. Your Majesty. You are stronger than your father. I did not answer. I had waited 20 years for those words. After Zhao returned, Shen Yuandao indeed severed all ties with Li Chongwen. However, Li Chongwen showed no intention of stopping. He became increasingly active in the imperial court, joining forces with several veteran officials to submit a memorial requesting that the emperor appoint a crown prince. Xiao Yan was 32 years old this year, and he had only 2 princesses to his name, with no imperial sons. The imperial physician says the one in my womb is most likely a prince. Li Chongwen could wait no longer. He submitted a memorial suggesting that if the Empress did not give birth to a prince, a legitimate child from the imperial clan should be adopted and installed as the crown prince. Legitimate. How would Xiao Yan react upon hearing those 2 words? There was no need to guess. During the morning court session, Xiao Yan threw Li Chongwen's memorial right into his face. Is the Grand Tutor suggesting that if my child is born of a concubine, he is unworthy of being the crown prince, and that I must adopt a child born of the legal wife instead? Li Chongwen knelt on the ground. That is not what I meant. I was merely considering the welfare of the state. The state? Is it the state you are considering? Or is it that obsession with lineage and birthright in your heart? A deathly silence fell over the great hall. Xiao Yan stood up. Li Chongwen, you have served as the Grand Tutor for 3 dynasties and taught 3 generations of crown princes. The legitimate sons of the late emperor whom you taught, one was executed for rebellion, one drowned while intoxicated, and one went mad and is confined in the clan court. Shall I read out your teaching achievements to everyone in the imperial court? Li Chongwen's face turned ashen. Your Majesty. The crown princes I taught. None of the crown princes you've taught have ever amounted to anything. And now you want to adopt a child of legitimate birth to be the heir? I would like to ask, just who do you plan to adopt? Your own grandson from the Li family? A cold shiver ran through the entire civil and military court. Li Chongwen's daughter had married Prince N of the imperial clan and had given birth to a legitimate son. If a crown prince were to be adopted from the imperial clan, Prince N's legitimate son would be the most likely candidate. Li Chongwen's schemes were exposed by Xiao Yan right there in court. I had no such intention. Court is adjourned. Xiao Yan swept out of the room with a flick of his sleeves. When the news reached the inner palace, I held the embroidery needle in my hand and fell into deep thought for a long time. Li Chongwen would not let the matter rest. His scheme had been exposed. He would either have to admit defeat or take a desperate risk. Based on my understanding of these veteran officials, they would never admit defeat. Sure enough, something went wrong 3 days later. I went into labor. It was a full month early. People from the Imperial Academy of Medicine rushed into Funi Palace, and everything fell into a state of chaotic activity. I was sweating profusely from the pain, the veins bulging on my hands as I gripped the edge of the bed. Zhaoyue stood by my side, tears streaming down her face in panic. Your ladyship, the imperial physician says the baby is in a breech position. Get the best midwives here. Chaos reigned within Fengyi Palace. My consciousness blurred amidst the agonizing pain, and I could faintly hear someone shouting outside. His Majesty has arrived. Xiao Yan's voice carried in from beyond the doors. What happened? Wasn't it supposed to be another month? The imperial physician knelt on the ground. Your Majesty, the Empress may have been startled, leading to premature labor. What startled her? I do not know. I know. In the afternoon, someone delivered a box of pastries to Fengyi Palace, claiming they were from Consort.De. Zhaoyue tested them. They were not poisoned. But beneath the pastry box, a note was hidden. The note contained only one sentence: the Empress's child will not survive. The moment I saw that note, my stomach began to ache. I was in labor for a full 16 hours. At dawn, the child finally emerged. It was a boy. His cry was loud and resonant. After completing the examination, the imperial physician knelt on the ground. Congratulations, Your Majesty, congratulations, Your Empress. It is a prince, and both mother and son are safe. Xiao Yan rushed in, first glancing at the child, and then looking at me. I was too weak to speak and could only manage a smile at him. He reached out and took my hand in his. Thank you for your hard work. I closed my eyes. Both mother and child are safe. To hell with whatever monsters or demons are out there. My son has arrived. Zhaoyue told me everything that happened during my postpartum recovery, without missing a single detail. Xiao Yan investigated the matter regarding that note. The pastries were indeed sent by Consort.De, but the note was not. Someone tampered with the pastries while they were being delivered. The person responsible for delivering the pastries was a young eunuch named Shen Zhaoyue. After being apprehended, Shen Zhaoyue confessed in name, the steward of Prince An's manor. Prince An. Li Chongwen's son-in-law. Li Chongwen wanted the legitimate son of Prince An to become the crown prince. If something were to happen to my child, that would become a possibility. Xiao Yan issued an imperial decree: Prince An was to be stripped of his title and placed under house arrest within his manor. Li Chongwen was dismissed from his position as the grand tutor to the crown prince and demoted to a common Hanlin scholar. The two decrees sent shockwaves through the imperial court. Li Chongwen, a veteran official who had served 3 successive reigns, was demoted from grand tutor to Hanlin academician overnight. Prince An fared even worse, stripped of his title and reduced to a commoner. The entire court fell into a deathly silence, everyone trembling with fear. I lay in bed, and after hearing all this, I spoke a single sentence. Have you looked into the matter of the note? Zhaoyue hesitated for a moment. The trail went cold at the Prince of An's residence. The prince claims he knows nothing, and the steward says he acted on his own initiative. Do you believe that? I don't believe it. A butler is just a servant. How would he have the nerve to touch the Empress's pastries? Someone must be pulling the strings behind the scenes. It's Li Chongwen. But there's no evidence now, so the investigation can't go any further. So we're just going to let it go? I looked out the window. Not really. But there's no rush. Li Chongwen has already lost his power. Without his status as the grand tutor, he is nothing more than a toothless tiger. Let him live a few days longer. Zhaoyue tucked the covers in around me. Your ladyship, you have just given birth to the prince. Please leave these worries for later. MHM. I closed my eyes. Beside me, the child slept soundly in the cradle. Listening to the sound of his breathing, my heart felt more settled than ever before. This child is my greatest trump card. From this day forward, the Central Palace has a legitimate imperial prince. No one can touch me now. On the day of the full moon banquet, the entire imperial harem arrived. Consort Xian presented a pair of golden locks, Consort.It gifted a bolt of fine shoe brocade for the child's clothing, and even Consort Shu, who usually avoided social gatherings, sent a gift. The Empress Dowager arrived at Fini Palace, carried in her sedan chair. She gazed at the child in the cradle with a complex look in her eyes. He looks like His Majesty. As long as the Empress Dowager thinks so. The Empress Dowager looked up at me. Empress, you have suffered. I shook my head. I do not suffer, mother. With your Majesty and the Empress Dowager protecting me, I feel very much at ease. The Empress Dowager nodded, then glanced at the child once more. As for this child, I shall give him a nickname. Let us call him Anur. Anaz in peace and safety. Thank you, Empress Dowager. As the Empress Dowager left, Shen Zhaoyue supported her by the arm. Shen Zhaoyue had changed a great deal these past few days. Her former daintiness had completely faded. Dressed in simple, plain clothing, she followed the Empress Dowager quietly. As the Empress Dowager reached the doorway, she suddenly spoke. This girl is quite good. Shen Zhaoyue didn't speak, but the corner of her mouth twitched slightly. I knew she was smiling. After the Empress Dowager left, Xiao Yan arrived. He walked around the hall 3 times holding the child, unable to bring himself to put the baby down. Anur. The Empress Dowager chose a good name. As long as your Majesty likes it. He placed the child back into the cradle and looked at me. I have selected former officials from the Eastern Palace to serve as Anur's tutors. His formal education will begin when he turns 3. Beginning formal education at 3 and pre-assigning subordinate officials to the Eastern Palace. The implication was clear, this child was the future crown prince. Your Majesty has considered everything thoroughly. One more thing. Xiao Yan sat down beside me. Regarding the Shen family, I do not intend to pursue the matter further. Your father has been stripped of his rank and has learned his lesson. That is enough. However, I have one condition. Please speak, Your Majesty. From this day forward, Shen Yuan Dao is forbidden from associating with Li Chongwen and his lot. If I catch him again, he paused. I will show no further mercy. I thank Your Majesty for your grace on my father's behalf. Xiao Yan left. I picked up Anur and gently patted his back. Your grandfather is a muddled man. But you have a clever mother. Anur let out a yawn. 7 days after Anur's full-month celebration, Shen Zhaoyue came to Fini Palace to see me. She held Anur in her arms, her eyes curving into crescents as she smiled. Sis, Your Majesty, Anur is so well behaved. I didn't correct her. There are no outsiders here. Zhaoyue, how has the Empress Dowager been treating you? Much better. Lately, she has been teaching me to identify medicinal herbs. She said that back when she was young and living in the cold palace, she used to pass the time by learning about them. My heart stirred slightly. The Empress Dowager is teaching Shen Zhaoyue to identify medicinal herbs? The Empress Dowager never taught anyone these things. It was her most private hobby and her sole source of support during her time in the cold palace. Her willingness to teach Shen Zhaoyue indicated that she had truly accepted the girl. Study hard. It is your good fortune that the Empress Dowager is willing to teach you. Shen Zhaoyue nodded. Your ladyship, there is one more thing. She lowered her voice. A few days ago, a eunuch approached me. He said my father sent word for me to pay my respects to His Majesty and find an opportunity to distinguish myself before him. My eyes turned cold. How did you respond? I said I was one of the Empress Dowager's people and that it was inconvenient for me to see His Majesty. The eunuch tried to say more, but he was driven away by the Empress Dowager's attendants. Does the Empress Dowager know? The Empress Dowager said. Shen Zhaoyue mimicked the Empress Dowager's tone that old dog Shen Yuandao just won't behave even after his noble rank was stripped. I couldn't help but laugh. The Empress Dowager has always been so blunt. Zhaoyue, you did well. If anyone comes looking for you again in the future, tell the Empress Dowager directly. She will protect you. Shen Zhaoyue nodded earnestly. Your ladyship, I only now understand that of the two paths you let me choose back then, only the second one leads to survival. It is good that you have come to understand this. And one more thing. She looked up at me, her eyes shimmering with light. Your ladyship, thank you. Back at the Shen household, I thought you hated me because the legal mother treated you poorly and I was born of the legal wife. But it was only after entering the palace that I realized you are the only one who truly helps me. I looked at her and said nothing. After a moment, I picked up a pastry from the table and stuffed it into her hand. Eat. Stop being so mushy. She took a bite with a smile. Emperor kicked his legs in her arms. Your ladyship, Emperor is hungry. Give him to me. I took Emperor and lowered my head to nurse him. Zhaoyue secretly wiped away a tear off to the side. I glared at her. What are you crying for? Your servant is crying out of joy. If you're so happy, go pour some tea. When Emperor was 3 months old, another incident occurred in the imperial court. Although Li Chongwen had been demoted, he had not remained idle. He gathered a group of young officials in the Hanlin Academy and drafted a 10,000-word memorial, which was then submitted to the Grand Secretariat. The content of the memorial was simple. It proposed that His Majesty restore the system of primogeniture. The reasons were high-sounding, such was the ancestral system, such was the moral order, and such was the will of the people. The 10,000-word petition did not directly mention Xiao Yan's lineage, but every line hinted at the same thing: an emperor born of a concubine defied ancestral tradition, and the situation had to be rectified. After reading the petition, Grand Secretary Zhang, the head of the inner cabinet, broke into a cold sweat and delivered the document to Xiao Yan that very night. After Xiao Yan finished reading it, he did not say a single word. The next morning at the imperial court, he read the 10,000-word memorial aloud before the assembly. From beginning to end, not a single word was altered. The civil and military officials of the entire court listened, breaking into a cold sweat. After he finished reading, Xiao Yan set down the memorial. My dear ministers, this 10,000-word memorial is truly well written. It cites the classics extensively and possesses a brilliant literary flair. I was deeply moved upon reading it. No one dared to respond. I am of concubine birth. This is a fact I have never hidden from anyone. The late emperor had 8 sons, 3 legitimate and 5 born of concubines. Of the 3 legitimate sons, the eldest was executed for rebellion, the second drowned while intoxicated, and the third went mad and was sent to the imperial clan court. Of the 5 sons born of concubines, I am the 4th. The 5th died in battle, the 6th became a monk, the 7th died in infancy, and the 8th passed away from illness. Of the 8 princes, only I have lived to see this day. He scanned the imperial court. So, my dear ministers, you wish to restore the system of primogeniture? Very well. The late emperor's legitimate sons are all locked away in the clan manor. Shall we release the 3rd prince? He may be mad, but he is the legitimate heir by birth. The imperial court fell into a deathly silence. Or perhaps, should we adopt Prince An's legitimate son? Shall we make Grand Tutor Li's grandson the crown prince? Li Chongwen collapsed to his knees with a heavy thud. I did not mean that. The petition was written by the young men of the Hanlin Academy. You didn't know? There are 12 names signed on that petition, and 9 of them are your students. You didn't know? Li Chongwen kowtowed. I have failed to discipline my subordinates, guards. The imperial guards entered the hall. All 12 individuals who signed the petition are to be dismissed from their posts. Li Chongwen, for his failure in guidance and instruction, is stripped of his position as Hanlin academician and is to be expelled from the capital and exiled to Lingnan. Li Chongwen collapsed onto the floor. Your Majesty! Your Majesty! I have served the great Qi for 40 years. Drag him out. The imperial guards hauled Li Chongwen away. The entire court of civil and military officials fell into a deathly silence. Xiao Yan stood before the dragon throne, his gaze as sharp as a blade. Does anyone else have something to say? No one spoke. Dismissed. News of Li Chongwen's exile to Lingnan broke, sending shockwaves through the capital. A veteran official of 3 reigns and grand tutor to the crown prince, he was transformed overnight into a convicted criminal, with even his family's noble titles stripped away. His students, protégés, and old acquaintances were suddenly gripped by a collective sense of self-preservation. Yet, it was not these people who were the most shaken. It was Shen Zhaoyue. He had been associated with Li Chongwen for over 20 years. Although he had ostensibly severed ties after the incident involving Zhao Chong and manager He, were they still in contact behind the scenes? He knew the answer in his own heart. This time, he was truly afraid. He did not send any more petitions into the palace, nor did he ask Lady Zhao to come. He did something that no one expected, he submitted a formal resignation. Shen Zhaoyue took the initiative to resign from his title as a second-class marquis and all his court positions, requesting the emperor's permission to return to his hometown for retirement. On the day the memorial was submitted, the imperial court was in an uproar. The Shen family has been established in the capital for 3 generations. How could they just pack up and leave? Xiao Yan did not approve the petition immediately. He held on to the memorial for 3 days. On the night of the 3rd day, he came to Fini Palace. Emperor is already asleep. Xiao Yan looked at his son in the cradle, then sat down across from me. Your father intends to resign and return to his hometown. I know. What are your thoughts? I thought for a moment. He is afraid. He should be. Xiao Yan took out the memorial and placed it on the table. I intend to grant the request. But not in its entirety. The titles shall be revoked and the court positions dismissed. However, the Shen family's residence in the capital will be retained. Your younger brother is still studying at the Imperial Academy. Let him continue his studies. I looked at him. Your Majesty's intention in keeping the Shen family residence is, the Shen family is your maiden home. You are the Empress and a nurse mother. I cannot allow your family to lose too much face. Thank you, Your Majesty. But you must convey a message to Shen Zhaoyue on my behalf. Please speak, Your Majesty. Tell him, for the sake of the Empress and the Prince, I have allowed him to keep his dignity. From now on, he is to behave himself and live out his retirement in the countryside. If there is any further unrest, I will not even grant him that dignity. I understand. Xiao Yan stood up, walked over to the cradle, and reached out to gently touch Emperor's cheek. This child is growing stronger and stronger. The imperial physician says he is in very good health. Xiao Yan's lips curled slightly. Emperor, you are much more capable than your grandfather. He left. I sat under the lamp, staring at that memorial. Shen Zhaoyue is leaving. To be honest, I don't feel much of anything. He was never a good father. But he finally did one sensible thing, stopping while he still could. On the day Shen Zhaoyue left the capital, I did not go to see him off. I sent Zhaoyue to take a look at the city gate. Zhaoyue returned and said that Duke Shen, no, he should be called Shen Zhaoyue now, had left quietly with Lady Zhao and a few old servants in 2 carriages, carrying very little luggage. Before boarding the carriage, Lady Zhao looked back once in the direction of the imperial city. I do not know what she was looking at. She might be looking at where her daughters live. 2 daughters. One is the Empress. The other is a lady-in-waiting to the Empress Dowager. None of them can go home anymore. After Shen Zhaoyue left, the imperial court became much quieter. With Li Chongwen exiled and Shen Zhaoyue requesting to return to his hometown, those restless veteran officials all retreated into the shadows. Xiao Yan's throne has never been as secure as it is now. On the day of Enner's 100th day celebration, Xiao Yan issued an imperial decree, appointing the eldest imperial son, Xiao Yan, as the crown prince. Appointing a crown prince at only 100 days old was a first in the history of the great Qi dynasty. Yet, no one voiced an objection. For everyone knew that Xiao Yan was using this decree to tell the world, an emperor born of a concubine could also have a crown prince born of a legitimate wife. His lineage required no one else's validation or interference. When the imperial decree appointing the crown prince finished being read, I stood in the main hall holding Enner. Enner was dressed in small, bright yellow robes, tilting his head as he gnawed on his own fingers. The civil and military officials of the entire court knelt in worship. We offer our congratulations to His Highness the Crown Prince. Enner blew a bubble. I looked down at him and thought, you little rascal, you aren't nervous at all. Xiao Yan laughed from the dragon throne. It was the most genuine smile I had seen from him since the day I married him. After Enner was invested as the crown prince, life in the palace actually became more peaceful. Consort Xian kept to herself, Consort De still sent gifts every few days, and Consort Shu remained as taciturn as ever. The Empress Dowager's health had recovered, and she spent every day with Shen Zhaoyue tending to the plants and flowers in Shokong Palace. Zhaoyue said that the Empress Dowager was treating Shen Zhaoyue better and better, sometimes even sharing stories with her about her younger years. This would have been unthinkable in the past. The Empress Dowager had kept those memories hidden for a lifetime, never breathing a word to anyone. In just half a year, Shen Zhaoyue had found her way into the Empress Dowager's heart. I have a newfound respect for this younger sister of mine. She didn't rely on her status as a legitimate daughter, nor did she rely on her mastery of the arts. She relied on the simplest, most painstaking method, sincere devotion and day-after-day companionship. One day, the Empress Dowager summoned me to Shokong Palace. I went, bringing Enner with me. The Empress Dowager held Enner and played with him for a while, then said to Shen Zhaoyue, "Go and brew a pot of tea." Shen Zhaoyue complied and turned to leave. The Empress Dowager watched her retreating figure and said to me, "This younger sister of yours, I would like to find a good match for her." I was stunned. What the Empress Dowager means is, I wish to bestow a marriage upon her. What do you think of Qingyu, the lieutenant under Prince Jing? He comes from a clean background, possesses excellent martial arts skills, and is an upright man. It is just that he was born of a concubine. Born of a concubine. The Empress Dowager placed special emphasis on those 4 words. As long as the Empress Dowager is pleased, that is all that matters. The Empress Dowager shot me a glance. Do not try to brush me off. Your sister's marriage is a significant matter. If you have any thoughts, speak them. I took a moment to reflect. I've met Qingyu once. He doesn't say much, but he gets things done efficiently. The fact that Prince Jing employs him means he is reliable. It's just, is Zhaoyue willing herself? The Empress Dowager smiled. Do you think I haven't asked her? What did she say? She said, it is for the Empress Dowager to decide. Whether he is of legitimate or concubine birth does not matter, as long as he is a good man. I froze for a moment, then smiled. The woman who, 6 months ago, was the capital's most renowned talented lady with nothing but music, chess, calligraphy, and painting on her lips, was now saying such things. Then it is settled. The Empress Dowager nodded. I shall issue the decree. On the day the decree was issued granting Shen Zhaoyue's hand in marriage to Qingyu, the entire capital was abuzz with gossip. The legitimate daughter of the Shen family marrying a concubine-born military officer? In the past, this would have been impossible. The Shen family was so proud. A daughter of the legal wife would only marry the legitimate son of another prestigious family. But now, the Shen family's noble rank has been stripped, Shen Yuandao has returned to his ancestral home, and Shen Zhaoyue has spent half a year serving as a maid by the Empress Dowager's side. The pride of her highborn status has long since been ground away. When Shen Zhaoyue came to the Feni Palace to express her gratitude, she was wearing a newly made peach-pink dress. She looked absolutely stunning. Unlike the cold aloofness she displayed when she first entered the palace, the current Shen Zhaoyue had a touch more earthly vitality about her, as if she had truly come to life. Your Majesty, I am getting married. I know. The whole capital knows by now. She gave a bashful smile. I saw Deputy General Qing twice when he came to Shokong Palace to pay his respects to the Empress Dowager. He indeed doesn't say much. Do you prefer the talkative type? No, being a man of few words is good. I used to talk too much. I looked at her, feeling a sense of emotion in my heart. Zhaoyue, now that you're married, live your life well. Don't worry about the Shen family's affairs anymore. She nodded. Father has returned to the countryside, and his legal wife went with him. My younger brother is still at the Imperial Academy, but he has his own ideas and doesn't need me to worry about him. What are Qingyu's family members like? His father is a retired veteran, and his mother is a countrywoman. They don't have much wealth, but they are down to earth. Won't you feel wronged marrying into that? She looked at me and said in all seriousness, Your Ladyship, I spent 16 years in the Shen family living in luxury, yet I never knew what a real life was. After entering the palace and spending 6 months by the Empress Dowager's side, I finally realized, life isn't meant to be enjoyed. It's meant to be lived. By marrying Qingyu, I can truly live. I stood up and took a small chest out of the cabinet. This is the dowry I am giving you. 100 taels of gold, a set of jewelry, and 2 shops in the south of the city. The title deeds to the shops are inside. Shen Zhaoyue's eyes widened in shock. Your Ladyship, this is far too. Take it. You are my sister. If I, as your elder sister, didn't part with something valuable for your wedding, it would be unseemly. She took the box, her eyes welling with tears. Your Ladyship. Call me Your Ladyship again and I'll take the box back. She sniffled. Sister. That's more like it. Suiwei secretly wiped away another tear beside me. I shot her a glare. If you cry again, I'm docking your monthly allowance. I'll stop crying right now. I couldn't go on the day Shen Zhaoyue got married. The Empress Dowager went. The Empress cannot attend the wedding of a subordinate, that is the rule. But I sent Suiwei in my stead. Suiwei returned and said that the wedding was simple and not extravagant. Qingyu stood at the main gate waiting, dressed in a red military official's ceremonial robe. Shen Zhaoyue stepped out of the bridal sedan. Qingyu glanced at her and then extended his hand. Shen Zhaoyue placed her hand in his. When Suiwei reached this point, her voice choked up slightly. Your Highness, Deputy General Cheng's hands are so large. They completely enveloped the second Mrs. hand. That's enough, you do nothing but cry all day long. But I found myself smiling as well. As long as she marries well, that is all that matters. Shen Zhaoyue endured 6 months of hardship in the palace in exchange for a husband who treats her with genuine sincerity. It was worth it. On the second day after the wedding, Qingyu entered the palace to express his gratitude. He came to Palace Palace to kowtow to me. A dark-faced, burly man knelt there and said in a muffled voice, "I will take good care of my wife." And that was it. One sentence, crisp and to the point. I looked at him. Get up. Take good care of her. She was spoiled at home, and her temper can be stubborn sometimes. Try to be patient with her. Yes. Another one-word response. After he left, Zhaoyue said, "He's a man of very few words, isn't he?" People of few words are reliable. It's those with silver tongues who usually have something to hide. I picked up my tea and took a sip. The matters in the palace had finally come to a close. Li Chongwen has been exiled, Shen Yuandao has returned to his hometown, Shen Zhaoyue is married, and Enner has been invested as the crown prince. Everyone who needed to be dealt with has been handled, and everything that needed to be arranged has been set in place. Next, I only need to do one thing, raise Enner and hold my position in the central palace. That evening, Xiao Yan arrived. He sat under the lamp reading memorials, while I sat beside him embroidering. Enner had fallen asleep in the cradle. It was very quiet. Xiao Yan put down the memorial and looked at me. "What are you embroidering?" "A drool bib for Enner." He reached out, took it, and looked it over. "The stitching is good. It's not much different from the work of the palace embroiderers. My mother was a seamstress." Xiao Yan froze for a moment, then placed the bib back into my hand. "Embroider it well." I lowered my head and continued my stitching. The moonlight outside the window is beautiful. The lights in the Palace Palace are warm. Little Enner in the cradle let out a soft snore. I think this is probably the kind of life I wanted. It doesn't need to be grand or dramatic. Stability is enough. But the stable days did not last long. When Enner was 1 year old, the final major incident occurred. Li Chongwen died on the way to Lingnan. He didn't die of illness. He was murdered. The escorting bailiffs claimed they encountered mountain bandits on the road, and Li Chongwen was struck 3 times with a blade, dying instantly. When the news reached the capital, some believed the bandit story, while others did not. Xiao Yan did not issue a decree to investigate. Because everyone knew, it wasn't mountain bandits who killed Li Chongwen. It was Prince Jing. Li Chongwen writing the 10,000-word memorial in the Hanlin Academy, stirring up the imperial court, and causing the Empress's premature labor, Prince Jing remembered every single one of these matters with absolute clarity. Xiao Yan could have punished him, demoted him, or exiled him. But Prince Jing's method was more direct. When I heard the news, I remained silent for a long time. Zhaoyue asked in a low voice, "Your Majesty, Prince Jing did this. Won't the Emperor hold him accountable?" "No." "Why?" "Because Li Chongwen nearly caused Enner's death. Xiao Yan hates him even more than Prince Jing does. Exiling him to Lingnan was merely for the sake of the court officials. In reality, he wanted Li Chongwen dead as well. Prince Jing simply did the dirty work for him." Then, in the imperial court, no one in the imperial court would cry out against the injustice done to Li Chongwen. His students had all been dismissed from their posts, and his son-in-law had been stripped of his title. He was already a dead man. Prince Jing had simply made him stop breathing a little sooner. Zhaoyue fell silent. I walked over to the cradle and looked at Enner. He had already learned how to roll over and was currently lying on his stomach, gnawing on his own hand atop the quilt. "Enner, this is just the way the world is. You must remember this for the future. Your heart can be kind, but your hand must never be soft." Enner grinned at me, drool spilling down his chin. I picked up the embroidered bib and wiped it for him. Go on, try to drool a little less. In the spring of Emperor's second year, everything finally truly settled down. In the imperial court, Xiao Yan held absolute power, and no one dared to mention the distinction between legitimate and concubine-born children anymore. In the back palace, my position as empress was as solid as a rock, and Emperor was the crown prince, his status unshakable. Prince Jing was in command of the imperial guard, and the princess consort of Jing came to the palace to visit me every few days. Our relationship grew closer and closer. After Shen Zhaoyue married Qingyu, her life was simple and happy. Qingyu was promoted to assistant commissioner of the 4th rank, and Shen Zhaoyue managed the household affairs for him with great competence. She became pregnant. I sent over a set of medicinal herbs for stabilizing the pregnancy, identical to the box she had sent me all those years ago. Shen Yuandao farmed the land honestly in the countryside and never caused trouble again. Lady Zhao occasionally wrote letters to the palace. Her tone was respectful, and she no longer made any demands. One day, I received a letter from Lady Zhao. The letter contained only one sentence: "Your Majesty, I have done many wrong things in my life. My greatest mistake was not treating you well." I stared at it for a long time. Then, I folded the letter neatly and placed it inside a small casket. There was no reply. Some things are better left understood. No response is needed. Suiwei asked me, "Will you not reply, your ladyship?" I won't be replying. She didn't write this letter to seek my forgiveness. She wrote it to make herself feel better. Then, has your highness forgiven her? I thought about it for a moment. It's not a matter of forgiveness. What happened in the past cannot be changed. But she raised me for 16 years. At the very least, she kept me alive. So, that means you've forgiven me? Why are you so talkative? Suiwei chuckled and ran off to play with Emperor. Emperor could already speak. As soon as he opened his mouth, he called out "Mother Empress," his voice loud and clear. Xiao Yan would beam with joy every time he heard it. He said that Emperor was the greatest gift of his life. I said, "Then keep working hard at court to build a peaceful world for your son." He looked at me and said one thing. "With you here, all is right with the world." I rolled my eyes. "Don't give me that." He laughed. 10 years later. Emperor is now 10 years old. He studies at the Eastern Palace, where his academic performance is top tier, and he excels at writing and archery as well. Xiao Yan says Emperor is the smartest child he has ever seen, 10 times better than he was as a boy. I tell him that's because Emperor has a smart mother. Xiao Yan did not refute it. After Emperor, I gave birth to another daughter named Xiao Ning, and she was conferred the title of Princess Yong'an. The little girl is 5 years old this year and is the little tyrant of Fengyi Palace. She dares to talk back to anyone, and even Xiao Yan has been on the receiving end of her sharp tongue. Even after being rebuked by her, Xiao Yan remained cheerful, saying that the girl took after her mother. On the Empress Dowager's 70th birthday, Shen Zhaoyue entered the palace with her 3-year-old son to offer her congratulations. Qingyu had already been promoted to a 3rd-rank commander, making him a figure of considerable standing among the military officials in the capital. Shen Zhaoyue wore a deep purple gown, appearing a few degrees more composed and steady than she had in her youth. Holding her son, she walked before the Empress Dowager and instructed the child to kowtow. The Empress Dowager held the child in her arms, her face creasing into a smile. "This little fellow looks just like his father, sturdy and full of spirit." Shen Zhaoyue said, "Empress Dowager, would you do us the honor of choosing a childhood name for him?" The Empress Dowager pondered for a moment. "Call him Pinger. The Ping from Taiping, peace. It makes a pair with Emperor, Pingan, peace and safety." Listening from the side, I felt a sting in my nose. The Empress Dowager glanced at me, then looked at Shen Zhaoyue. "You 2 sisters, one raised a crown prince, and the other married a hero. I haven't done many good deeds in my life, but these two, I got right. I walked over and poured a cup of tea for the Empress Dowager. The Empress Dowager has done many good deeds. The Empress Dowager took the tea and took a sip. I was born of a concubine, and so were you. Back then, who could have imagined that two women of concubine birth, one would become the Empress Dowager and the other the Empress? She set down her teacup. Legitimate or illegitimate, it all comes to nothing in the end. The one who truly understands how to live is the winner. I nodded. Shen Zhaoyue nodded as well. Enna ran over from the eastern palace, grabbed Pinger's hand, and dashed toward the garden. Princess Xiao chased after them, shouting, "Brother, wait for me." The Empress Dowager watched the three children run off into the distance and let out a laugh. Go on, don't linger here with me anymore. I'm going to take a nap." I helped the Empress Dowager lie down and tucked her in. When I stepped out of the Palace of Longevity and Health, the spring sunshine was just right. Shen Zhaoyue walked beside me and suddenly spoke. "Sister, what do you think Father would think if he knew about today's events?" "He will regret it." "Regret what?" "Regret not treating me well back then." Shen Zhaoyue fell silent for a moment. Father wrote to me the year before last, saying he had planted a peach orchard in the countryside and that the hills would be covered in blossoms come spring. He said he wanted Enner to go and see them. Enner is busy. I know. When he isn't so busy, I'll take him there. Shen Zhaoyue looked at me, her eyes slightly glistening. All right. We walked side by side along the palace path, our shadows stretched long by the sunlight. 20 years ago, I was the disregarded concubine-born daughter of the Shen family, while she was the legitimate daughter, cherished like a star surrounded by moons. 20 years later, I am the Empress, and she is the general's wife. Neither of us lost. We simply took different paths and ultimately arrived where we were meant to be. Another 5 years passed. Enner is 15 now and has already begun overseeing the state and managing government affairs. Xiao Yan said he is getting old and wants to take a rest. I told him he is only 47, so what does he mean by old? He said he wants to take me out of the palace to travel and see the landscapes of Jiangnan. I said okay. Princess Xiao is 10 years old now, raised by the Empress Dowager in Shokong Palace. The Empress Dowager says she is clever, just like me. I said she is more mischievous than I was. The Empress Dowager said being mischievous is good, it means she won't let herself be taken advantage of. Shen Zhaoyue's son, Pinger, is now 8 years old and has entered the Imperial Academy. Qingyu has been promoted to Regional Vice Commissioner of the second rank and Shen Zhaoyue has become a second-rank titled lady. Prince Jing has served in the Imperial Guard for 20 years and has finally announced his retirement. Princess Consort Jing, Zhao Yuzhen, said she wants to take him to the south for their retirement as she has had enough of the winters in the capital. I sent a chest of fur cloaks to Princess Consort Jing. She asked me, "Are you worried I'll be cold, or do you just have too much stuff?" I said I have a lot of stuff, what's it to you? She gave me a playful scolding, picked up the box, and left. Xin Yuandao passed away last year. The Zhao family sent a letter to the palace to report the death. I had someone send back a sum of money for the funeral expenses, but I didn't say much else. Enner asked me, "Mother, grandfather has passed away. Aren't you sad?" I thought about it for a moment. I am. But not much. Why? Because he was never truly a father to me. Enner remained silent for a long time. Mother, when I become the emperor, I will definitely be a good father. I stroked his head. You will. That winter, when the first snow fell, Xiao Yan took me out of the palace. We rode in an ordinary carriage, passing through the streets of the capital and out through the city gates. On the way, we saw an old man selling candied haws, and Xiao Yan bought 2 sticks. He handed me a skewer. I took it and took a bite. Sour. Didn't you have these when you were a kid? No. The Shen family doesn't allow concubine-born daughters to eat snacks. Xiao Yan looked at me, and after a moment, said, "From now on you shall have them every day." What if my teeth fall out from eating them every day? If they fall out, I will have gold ones inlaid for you. There's something wrong with you. He laughed. The carriage continued forward, flanked by bare trees on both sides of the road. In a few months, spring will arrive, and new leaves will grow on the trees. I finished eating the candied haws and tossed the stick out of the car window. Xiao Yan said, "Don't litter. The Emperor sure is a busybody. Managing you alone is already exhausting enough." I ignored him. The wind rushed in through the car window. It was cold, but I didn't want to close it. I wanted to look at the sky outside. The sky was high, distant, and perfectly clear. It is exactly the same sky I saw 20 years ago when I first entered the palace. Back then, I sat in the bridal sedan and caught a glimpse of the sky through a gap, thinking to myself, no matter what happens in the future, the sky will always be that same sky. 20 years have passed. The sky hasn't changed. I have changed. From a low-born, overlooked girl of concubine birth, I have become the Empress, the mother of the nation. But in truth, not much has changed at all. I am still me. That little girl who knelt in the snow for 4 hours without shedding a single tear. I have simply learned one thing. When no one believes in you, keep your back straight and live your life well. Whether born of a legal wife or a concubine has never been what matters. What matters is what kind of life you believe you deserve. I deserve the best. And so, I got it. The story ends here. Thank you all for your company, and see you in the next one.